Hey everybody, welcome to your last day of review. We are going to jump right into it. Quadratic equations. For the quadratic section of the final, you are going to have to do four problems where you need to find the zeros, and that is our factoring. There are four different situations, so each one is slightly differently. But you're going to have these examples to follow, and the ones on the final are exactly the same. So the first situation is a binomial. Binomial meaning just two. There are two terms, so that's where that word comes from. The first step for these types is to find the GCF, the greatest common factor. Okay, as a reminder, that's the biggest number that divides evenly into both of these numbers. Well, we have 15 and 10. The way you can do this is look at the smaller number. Look at 10 and think what numbers go into 10, because it has to go into this one. And there's less numbers that go into 10, the smaller number, than the bigger number. So let's think 10 divided by 10, but that does not work for 15. Then we have 10 divided by 5, and that does work for 15. So 5 would be the greatest common factor. The way I'm going to write this out is like this. So 5 times 3, and then 5 times 2. This is slightly differently than I might have done it previously, but I think that this way might work better for most people. Then I'm going to expand the exponents. So there are two x's here, and there is one x here. Okay. So now all I'm doing is looking for what is the same between these. Well, that is where that greatest common factor comes into play. So there's a 5 and there's a 5, okay, for both of them. So I am going to write 5, okay. Then what else do they both have? Well, this is a 3, that's a 2, doesn't work. They both have an x. It's an x here and an x here, okay. When you're doing this, you want to make sure you're only circling the thing that they both have, okay. So they both have the x. Okay, those things we are pulling out. If that I've used that terminology before, pulling it out. What else is left? So we took out the 5. Well, we still have this 3 and we still have an x. So it's going to be 3x here. What else is left over here? Well, just the 2. So we have plus 2. Okay, and so there is our factored form. Okay, so 5x times 3x is 15x squared. 5x times 2 is 10x. Then the next step is we need to find the zeros. And the way you do that is you set these equal to 0. So you're going to set this factor equal to 0. So 5x equals 0. Then you're going to set this equal to 0. 3x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, now we're going to solve. So this one's pretty simple. Divide by 5, divide by 5. 0 divided by 5 is 0. So x equals 0 here. So that's one of my zeros. The other one is a two-step problem. So we got minus 2, minus 2. Then you have 3x equals negative 2. You're going to divide by 3. And this one you're going to end up with a fraction. No big deal. X equals negative 2 over 3. I don't really care if you do the decimal, but technically we should just keep the fraction. It just makes it cleaner. So those would be your zeros. This last step you're going to see in each example. Okay, so you'll see this a bunch of times. Go ahead and make sure you got this copied down. And then there's a few practice problems below. You want to try those before moving on to the next one. Make sure you got that, then move on to the next one.